Hello everyone, welcome to the first episode of Unemployment with Grace. This is going to be a relatively short and sweet one, but because I'm dealing with this for the first time, and I imagine there are some of you out there who are dealing with this for the first time as well, I'm going to talk a little bit about unemployment services. This is just for the state of Washington, so I'm sorry for anyone who lives out of the state, but that's where I'm at, so that's what I've been looking up for. So I've been looking up unemployment resources, both in general and also provisions for COVID-19. And a couple things I have learned that I think are really good to understand are, if you can, make a claim as soon as possible, because it does usually take a couple weeks to kick it into gear. There is a caveat to that I am having to deal with that I'll share with you in just a second. And then also important to double check with your employer that you are actually eligible to receive unemployment, because that is something that is paid for from the company. And I found out from my father, who is a pastor, that unfortunately religious organizations are exempt, which seems kind of silly to me because I feel like, the secretary at my dad's church probably should still get unemployment if they can't work anymore. Just because they work for a church doesn't mean that they should go broke if they are unemployed. But important to check with your employer on that. There's also a horror story that somebody who worked, I think, at the Marriott was laid off essentially and then applied for unemployment. And when the unemployment agency called the employer, because that's what they will do, they'll receive your claim and they'll contact the employer, and the employer basically confirms your status of unemployment. So when they called the Marriott said that he was still employed. He was just on a 0-hour schedule, which is ridiculous. So he was not eligible for benefits or, I believe, health care, which is crazy. I'm still on my parents' health care. I'm very lucky and still very young. But a lot of organizations will keep their healthcare benefits for their employees, even if they are partially unemployed, temporarily unemployed at this point in time. So definitely check with your organization on that if you do become unemployed, especially if you become unemployed temporarily due to this virus. I found some of the best answers are in this Q&A section. Switch the camera around for us. Ooh. Oh no, are you not going to let me do it? Okay, we'll be right back. We'll come back with a with an image of the full computer screen. All right, we're back with the image of the computer screen. Right now, I am looking at a page on esd.wa.gov/newsroom/COVID-19. And it just is a really helpful Q&A on what has been happening with unemployment based on COVID-19. Basically, if you're temporarily laid off, or even if you're fully laid off, actually, I'm not sure if you're fully laid off, but if you are sort of on standby status from your organization, and it looks like as of March 20th, workers are allowed 12 weeks of standby. So basically that means you'll get paid unemployment for 12 weeks if you are temporarily unemployed or temporarily laid off by your business because business has slowed or because it's unsafe to keep it open. And this actually also applies to part-time workers, which it did not used to, but that is something that has changed for COVID-19. There are some caveats, though, that don't get explained a lot. And part of that is in your base year, which we're going to look at in a second, you will have had to have worked at least 680 hours as a part-time worker. And again, this is esd.wa.gov/newsroom/COVID-19. There are updates sort of every couple weeks, so I would recommend y'all checking this out. And then also on the esd.wa.gov page, they have this nice little benefit calculator where it basically says the maximum payout is $790, minimum is $188, and you can figure out what your estimated payout is going to be. Now, this is the part that confused me at first, and so I'm going to walk y'all through it. basically, when you apply, matters a great deal for what they're going to look at for how much you get for unemployment. So essentially, if I were to apply right now, which a lot of people are doing because it's good to apply early so that you can get the maximum benefit, obviously. But if I were to apply now, it's March. So I'm filing the claim in March, and this little graph is helpful, but it takes a bit to understand. Then they look at one full year of earning to calculate your unemployment, but they skip one quarter. So if I apply in March, they would skip October, November, December, and they would calculate from September of 2019 all the way back to October of 2018. I was working at my organization for all that time, so I will receive a good amount of benefits still, but I went full-time in May. So if I were to calculate from this base year, only about less than half of that time I would be at a full-time salary. And basically, they calculate unemployment by taking your 2 highest earning quarters and then adding those, dividing by 2, and multiplying by a rate that they have. I'll show you down here in a minute. So essentially, if you went full-time sometime in the last year, or if you are earning more now than you were at some point last year, I would encourage you, since it is only about a week from today, to wait until April. Because at this point, my 2 highest earning quarters, one would be full-time, and then the other would be half not full-time, half full-time. So it would be a lot lower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait to apply till April 1st, then they'll skip January, February, March, and it'll be just December of 2019 back through January of 2019. My 2 highest earning quarters will be October through December and July through September, and those are both going to be at full-time for me. So that is why I am waiting. I wouldn't wait any longer than April 1st, just because, it'll be several months until the end of that quarter, and that's probably going to be the best you're going to get if you're unemployed specifically for coronavirus reasons. And then they have this calculator right here, and this is where, if you have your pay stubs from your tax folder, I keep all of my pay stubs, but you can even probably look, if you get direct deposit, you can even look in your banking app, and you can just calculate from your paychecks. If you calculate from your paychecks in your bank account, it's going to be slightly inaccurate because that'll be your income after tax, and they calculate this from your gross income, which is before taxes. So it's good to have the pay stubs, but it's still not a bad estimate, especially because you're lowballing it if you go from your taxed income. So I'm going to give some fake numbers, but I did already calculate what my benefit was going to be. So here we go. Let's say here that my first high quarter, I was going to, oh no, my num lock is off. There we go. Let's say my first high quarter was July through September, and I earned $7,500 for that whole quarter. You just add up what you earned that month without taxes, just the amount that you earned. And then let's say October through December, I earned $8,000. So basically, the calculation goes, let's see, it says on here somewhere. Yes, right up there. You add the 2 highest quarters, divide by 2, and then multiply by 0.0385 to get your weekly benefit. Now, I am not going to use that on a calculator because they have this nice little calculator here, but it should even out to be the same thing with that equation and with this little calculator. So if I click this, say calculate, my weekly benefit based on those 2 high quarters is $298, which monthly is going to add up to about $1,200 a month, which is not as much as I had been earning, but it is absolutely doable. I can pay my rent with that money. I do believe unemployment does also get taxed. I think, and this is going to be something I'll learn once I apply, that you can choose whether it is taxed when you receive it or at the end of the year when you are doing taxes for the following year. So that is basically what I have learned from unemployment. Unemployment is not a long-term solution, obviously, but one of the other provisions of COVID-19 is that if you are temporarily unemployed, you do not have to file job applications, essentially. Normally, you would have to record job applications, and then if you got an offer, you'd have to give a reason for refusal if you're not trying to get another job on unemployment. For temporarily laid off folks on unemployment for COVID-19, you don't have to do that, although I do believe you still have to file a weekly claim for unemployment, and that's another thing that I'm going to learn when I actually do apply. If you would like a job, there are a lot of places hiring right now. I am a nervous Nelly, so I've actually already applied to a couple places. I think I'll probably be fine on unemployment, but I'm going to just keep options open because this is a stressful time. So lots of grocery stores are hiring, obviously, and then there are some reception positions. If you have any kind of medical experience at all, hospitals put like 10 open positions up every single day. However, it should be reasonable, especially with some of the recent provisions, to get on unemployment. It's not impossible. You can apply online. Just know that the date that you apply on is the date that they're going to take to make those calculations. And for a lot of you, it's not going to make a difference because you've been at the same job in the same status for quite a while. For over a couple years. And so if that's the case, it won't matter when you apply. It'll just take your 2 highest quarters and they'll be generally the same, and they'll multiply from that. But I figured it is something that is totally worth letting folks know about, just because a lot of people are having to apply for unemployment that never have before. I am still stupid, lucky, and privileged. Even though I'm going through this process, I have a family that lives a half hour away and is very supportive. I'm still on my parents' health care, but even if I wasn't, my employer is still offering health care to its employees that are laid off. But during this crazy time, I felt it's good to put something out there about how to deal with this and just kind of assuage the stigma, because I remember when I was told that I was going to be laid off, feeling shame about it. And I think in a capitalist world, we feel a lot of shame at being let go from a job because we're supposed to be able to work. But this is kind of a unique situation. Everybody's dealing with it, so it's a little bit less shameful, and I just want to encourage conversation about it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video on unemployment. Ask me any questions. You can ask them in the comment section. You can message me directly if you have a way to do that. Yeah. Next time we'll do something a little bit more fun. We'll like bake cookies, or one of the other video ideas I had was to just gather all of the theater resources that I've been seeing around everywhere, which is fantastic. I did a great workshop with young Jean Lee the other day, which was so cool. Yeah, so we'll do something a little bit more fun next time, but I hope that this was helpful to you all. Remember, esd.wa.gov is going to be your go-to for sources, but also talk to your employer about it, and talk to your friends, see what they're doing. Don't feel like that's an inappropriate thing to talk about. It absolutely is, and we should be talking about it more. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Oh, also, I got some of these ideas and resources about unemployment from my coworker Erin, who has had more experience. She's older and wiser than I am and has had more experience doing all of this. So thank her as well for her incredible insight. And yeah, I'll see y'all in a couple of days or a week. I don't know when I'm going to do my next video. I'm not going to hold this to a strong schedule, but it was good to see you all, and I hope this was helpful.